Friday, yoga fam. How we all doing? I just had a lovely morning baking choux pastry, which is delicious and something I haven't done before, so it was very cool to get to try something new and exciting. And I don't know, it's hard, I think, lately to feel excited about things and to feel like we're able to move forward with circumstances that are here. Even as things sort of appear to move forward, there's still this kind of, staying put that needs to happen. And I feel like today, for a little while, I was able to just enjoy what I was doing and not think about, the past or the current circumstance even, but just to enjoy the act of, mixing and baking and waiting and tasting. And it reminded me of this concept of a present moment experience, which is something that I learned from the trauma sensitive yoga training that I was a part of this past fall. And the Jen Turner and David Emerson, the two people I studied with, define a present moment experience, hi Leonard, as one where your physical reality and your neurophysiological reality are in sync. So when your circumstance lines up to how your body is reacting, which if you're a person, which I'm guessing you might be if you're watching this video, I'm sure you've had a reaction to something before that you're like, I know what I'm reacting to isn't exactly what is happening here, but my nervous system, my whole body is having a response to whatever. And when our nervous system is triggered like that, like literally when our sympathetic nervous system, when our fight or flight response kicks in, our physiological reality is that we need to run and hide or freeze and survive. Even if our current reality is you're just watching TV, or you're having a conversation with someone, or it was something that made you jump maybe, but is, you're safe during. And one of the ways that they talk about encouraging your body and your brain to have more of these present moment experiences is with breath. And the idea that our breath can be a doorway to our nervous system. That being said, breath can be triggering because our nervous systems are sometimes hot wired or really sensitive or really desensitized. And when we focus on our breath, when we are able to be aware of our respiration, which is part of our autonomic nervous system, so it's part of our nervous system that just happens without us controlling it, that we're able to start to recalibrate and align our current circumstance of being where we are breathing with our physiological response that our nervous system is very much experiencing. And when those things start to sync, our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest portion of our nervous system, can switch on, and the very natural sympathetic nervous system response gets soothed by, I almost think about like a clutch in a car that one turns on and one turns off. And it's really complicated. Like human beings, animals, plants, everything is so complex and finely tuned, and human beings have awareness, which complicates things even more. One of the key players, and I'm getting to it. One of our key players in our breath work and nervous system soothing that we can do on the yoga mat to have more of a present moment experience is our vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve runs from your brain to your gut, through your diaphragm, and it is a huge player in fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn. And nerves in general have what is called a myelin sheath, which is like a fatty tube that hugs a nerve and keeps it supported and held and safe. So when you have like a pinched nerve, oftentimes that's like part of that fatty tissue has been damaged and like the nerve fiber is exposed. And nerves don't like that. If you can imagine, nerves, you know, when you hit your funny bone or you pinch something, like it's awful. And this nerve that runs right through the center of us, when we don't breathe fully and when trauma responses can trigger like very shallow breathing, that nerve doesn't get hugged the way it likes to. When we breathe deep through our nose and constrict the muscles in the back of the throat, we're hugging that nerve. We're like wrapping the muscles in our throat and sometimes in our diaphragm or in our belly, like around that nerve. And as we breathe and watch ourselves and have this present moment experience, one of the things we're doing is offering our nervous system more support. We are telling our bodies that it is okay to have autonomic responses, responses that come whether or not we want them to or intend them to, but also that we've got ourselves, that we can have reactions, that things will happen in the world and in our bodies, and we have support to start to comb through and like, I don't know, the more times we show up for ourselves, the more times like our bodies know that we will show up. So, wherever you are, if you want to lie down or take an easy seat, first just exhale out all the air you've got. Maybe even sigh it out or flutter your lips a little. Take a moment to arrive as much as you're able in this moment. Without changing too much, notice what it's like to breathe. There is not a wrong answer to that. Your breath might feel shaky or deep. You might have allergies, you might be really stuffy right now, or perhaps you're not feeling well. You might be antsy or feel like watching your breath is not quite doing it for you yet. All of this is valid. All of our responses and reactions and feelings are valid. They're just not always current truth. They are not always that present moment experience. And so having this simple way of developing awareness and dropping in can help us discern what we're actually feeling and experiencing in the moment we're in versus what is our nervous system and our bodies and our memories like calling up that's still in there, that's still very real for the part of our body that has no language, no sense of time. And as we deepen our breath, start to fill all the way up as much as you can with air, almost like you were filling balloons in your body and you wanted to fill them all the way up. And then exhale all the way back out. A couple of times, just like that. Really big, full, deep breaths. And if you haven't already, if it's comfortable and you'd like to, start to deepen your breath through your nose to a count of 10. Yeah, Len, you like that? And breathe all the way up. Try to fill up in your body all the way. Maybe hold the breath at the top for a count of 3. And then exhale all the way back out. Deep breath in. And then go ahead and take any little movements you'd like here. You can roll out your neck or roll your shoulders or take an easy twist. We're going to come up to our hands and knees, so feel free to take a little time if you'd like to stay where you are for a bit longer. And when you get to all fours, I know I always like to cushion my kneecaps with a blanket. And we're going to move through some easy spinal waves. So melting the belly towards the floor as you lift your head and tailbone towards the ceiling. And then going the opposite direction. Press the floor away, tuck your tailbone, let your head hang round your back. And back and forth a few times. Just seeing if everything that wants to move can a little bit. Also, it might be interesting to link your breath to your movement. So see if you can melt your belly to the floor for your whole inhale. Maybe even pausing, full of breath. And then exhale, round your back. Try to have the movement match your breath. So instead of like moving until or breathing until your movement is done, try to have your movement almost like you were being powered by the breath. Deep breath through the nose if that's comfortable. Trying to make, like we call it Ujjayi Pranayama in Hatha Yoga, which is, it's like the victorious breath. And it's a little bit loud, and it kind of sounds like the sound a seashell makes when you hold it to your ear. Or I like to say it sounds like Darth Vader. So we're going to come into a child's pose. Bring your knees wide apart, sit your hips back. We won't be here for too long, so if you know there's some props you like, help yourself, but we're not going to stay for super long. We'll do another child's pose in a little bit. But press your hands into the floor. Let your forehead come down. If it doesn't touch the floor, grab a book or a block or something that you can set underneath your forehead. See if you can fill the space beneath you with the sound of your deep inhales and exhales. And then come on back up, hands and knees. We're going to keep that book or block underneath us for a twist. So bring your, I'll cue the right arm, but it really doesn't matter which one you do first. Reach your right arm underneath your left one, thread the needle, and let the right side of your head come onto this block or book or pillow or whatever you've got. If you don't have something, or if bringing your head to the floor is comfortable, help yourself. You can even raise the block a level. Ooh, actually, I like that. And from here, we're twisting in the upper back and shoulders. So reach your outer hips back towards the back of your mat. Maybe crawl your top arm around your head a little bit. And switch sides whenever you're ready to. I am being called to stay here a little longer, but listen to where you are. That's another way we practice this present moment experience, or excuse me, one of the ways we practice finding these present moment experiences is that when we breathe in our body in a way that offers support to the nervous system, and we're looking for cues from the inside out to lead us through movement, we're like letting our nervous system recalibrate. In a lot of ways, we're letting our central nervous system find homeostasis. So we offer ourselves shapes and positions that may stimulate a response, and we just remind our bodies with breath that it's normal for us to have responses and that we're safe. That in this moment, the one we're in, it's okay to be having any reactions or feelings, but that the truth of where we are might be not exactly what's showing up. So, once you've twisted in both directions, we're going to come into a side lying pose to open up through the side bodies. So, some of the muscles that can get shortened when we are disconnected from our breath are the intercostal muscles. Intercostal muscles are they're between your costals, your rib cage. So those little muscles that expand and contract when you breathe deep in your lungs can get underutilized, and that side body getting tight can actually have a ripple effect through a lot of other places in the body. So we're going to breathe in this way while we lay in a position that opens up the side bodies. For that, we're going to need a couple of pillows or a bolster or some rolled up towels or blankets that make like a big enough tube that you'll get some side body stretch. I like to do this sitting on a blanket. If you've got a blanket or a towel or you're on a nice carpet, you're probably all set. And then I like to scoot whatever I'm going to lie on as close to me as possible. It doesn't matter what side you do first. I will cue my right side and we'll go from there. So I'm going to keep everything real close together. I'm going to have another blanket or pillow at the ready for under my head. And then your top arm is going to rest maybe over your ear or on your side body. So I like to have something up at the front of the mat to let my top hand rest on. You could use like a book, you could use a little basket or a stool or another pillow. So if my right hip is touching the bolster, I'm going to lift up and I'm going to reach all the way out like I was trying to grab something way off in front of my mat so that my whole side body is on the bolster. My right hip didn't lift. Like, I'm not butt in the air. My hips are on the floor, and I'm just draped. Like, I'm like a Renaissance painting, right? Like, I'm just, in repose. So you can see that I kind of had my head on my arm. Some people, this will be comfortable, and you'll want to stay there. For others, you'll want to take your bottom arm and just sneak it out of your way so you're not smushing it. That might make your pillow get further away, so feel free to adjust. You don't want your head to have to reach. I'm actually going to do the other version today. I usually do the other one. And then once you get comfortable with the bottom side of your body, decide what to do with the top arm. Again, I like to reach up and over my head and let the hand rest I've got a block up here. I know it's probably hard to see. You can also just let your arm rest here or here, wherever you want. And once you're situated, once you've gotten yourself in a position that you could be in for a few minutes, we'll find our breath again. So the first step is locating our physical reality. We don't always know what that is, you know? Our brain has what are called proprioceptors that can tell where our body is in space. And I don't know if, I don't know about you, but sometimes I will be doing something for a picture, or like, when I used to do acro yoga back in the day when you could touch other people, we would be practicing a skill, and then I would see a video and I would go, oh, that's what I'm doing. My leg is crooked or bent or whatever it is. Oh, okay. And I thought it was straight, right? Like I didn't think I was doing it wrong, but I didn't think I was doing what I was doing. And so giving yourself permission to locate yourself in the moment you're in is really valuable. As we start to breathe, deepen your breath in and out through your nose. And imagine those little muscles between your ribs starting to fill up with air and empty back out. It might be interesting to pay attention to the top side of your body, expanding up and out. It might be interesting to breathe into the bottom side of your body, the part of your rib cage and intercostal muscles that are smushed on the bolster. You might be coming into your Ujjayi breath in and out through the nose, or if you liked that, count to 10 and hold the breath for 3 before you exhale. That is a great way to get your lungs to work at capacity, which is important for respiratory health. Anytime you feel thoughts or feelings, or like when things come up while you're resting on the floor, just offer the awareness of that's not what's going on right now. That doesn't mean that it's not valid or worth noticing, but it's just that reminder that like our brains and our bodies are going to, are going to remember. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm getting really deep into the pose. But like it's totally normal for that to happen, is I guess what I'm really trying to say. You don't have to control the parts of your body that are automatic. We just learn to be with what is, so that when out in the world things happen, we have this frame of reference in our bodies that we can support ourselves. That when we react, when we experience pain or heartache or, really terrible circumstance, that we in our bodies, this place that we live, can utilize tools and skills to, to just kind of get back to homeostasis again. And part of how we do that is by feeling, by letting ourselves be where we are. Hi, Frank. And so give yourself a couple more breaths here on this side. If you want, you can move your top arm for the last breath or two. we're gonna roll onto our backs. So I like to stay as flopped as I can on the bolster to roll on my back. You can also come up to seated if you want, but I think it just feels nice for the body to maintain contact with the bolster. And when you get there, you can open your arms wide, side to side. I retucked the blanket under my head. You might want to do that too. And then you could have your feet on the floor or your legs straight out in front of you. Deep, full breath in and out. Reminding your nervous system that you are safe and supported, even as we stimulate the body, even as we offer ourselves different things to feel. Cats. There's a cat. Come on, cat business. Be polite, Leonard. I'm making a video. All right, we're going to go on the second side. So coming into this on the second side, I like to roll over, and then usually I press myself up because I've slid away from the bolster a little bit. So feel free to get all the way vertical again. Once you get the bolster touching your thigh, you can lift your inner arm. Reaching forward and out is going to help lower your side body to the mat or the bolster or whatever. And then there's lots of ways to get comfortable here, to get your arm and head and neck supported on props or on the floor. And it might be different. I am enjoying a different version of like where my blanket and my head are than I did on the first side. A couple more deep, full breaths here to get all the way adjusted and into the pose. And for this for this half of the pose, we're going to practice some equal parts breath. So as you inhale, try to count how long it takes you to breathe in. Hold the breath maybe at the top for a breath or two, and then exhale for the same length of time that you breathed in for. So if you inhale to a count of 6, you exhale to a count of 6. Optional, holding the breath for 3 or so breaths at the top. If at any point it feels like you want to let go of the breath, you are more than welcome to. There's nothing wrong with kind of just letting it go and coming back to it when you're ready. Because again, we're not trying to bully our nervous systems into relaxing. We're just offering. Our body has to learn to trust that we can soften. Franklin! Sorry, my cat is crying. I don't know if you can hear him. Oh! Come here, guys. we're going to roll onto our backs again. You can stay put if that second side is still feeling good. We're going to be on our backs for a little bit longer. So make sure that your head and neck feel supported. Again, your chest and shoulders and maybe even low back, depending on what pillows or props you have, are supporting underneath you. And then again, your knees can stay bent or you can straighten your legs out on the floor. Deep inhale. Long exhale. Notice what it's like to breathe with the front side of your body open. The front of the body, from a metaphysical perspective, represents your conscious mind. Like the you that thinks and like does things and is aware of your actions and your experience. It's a part of the body that is hard to be vulnerable with because it's also, vulnerable. Our belly, our chest, like we hold things here literally. Our hands and mouth are on the front side of our body. We're bipedal, we move forward through the world. And so just notice when you're in this shape, breathing deep in through your nose and out through your nose, what types of thoughts or feelings arise that are just thoughts and feelings that you can either breathe with or breathe through? Does it feel safe or vulnerable or stimulating or calming? If they're not already there, bend your knees, put your feet on the floor, and roll all the way over to one side. Oh, it might feel good to pause on the ground for a couple of breaths. And then use your hands to help yourself up. Okay. We are going to come into a supported child's pose. So the pose we were just in was really open on the front side of the body. This pose is going to be open on the back side of the body. What we're going to do is we're going to end up in a position where we can snuggle our bolster on the ground. So you can actually prop your pillows up on a chair or like the edge of your couch or like what I'm looking at that I've got one of these like flight cases here. I'll use it just to show what I mean. You don't need blocks for this is my point. But you can kind of set something up so that you're propped and being held. I might add some block support there so it doesn't collapse. And then if you have a blanket or a cushion to put under your butt, I think you're going to really like it. I know I do. So once you get yourself into this shape, you can let your hands come down. You can turn your head to either side. Now we have this opening on the back side of the body. I'm actually going to move that because it is too tall for me. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that's it. When you breathe into your back from a metaphysical perspective represents your subconscious mind. Our past, our nature, our programming, our dreams. And I know it's like harder to tune into that place because like we don't have hands or eyes or a mouth on our back. When we breathe, we usually imagine the front side of the body. But actually, 70% of our lungs are on the back of the rib cage. So as you breathe, you might want to imagine those little intercostal muscles between your ribs expanding and contracting. Or maybe it's nice to imagine little balloons filling up and emptying out. It might be harder to notice how this side of your body feels. Because oftentimes when we disconnect from our breath or the present moment experience, we're also disconnecting from our subconscious, from our gut, right? So if we think about the vagus nerve running from our brain to our belly, when we ignore our gut, I'm using that not literally, sometimes literally, like our gut feeling or our intuition, when we disconnect from that, a lot of times what we're disconnecting to is response from our nervous system. It might be too much to feel at some times. And that's okay too. You are unfolding at the perfect pace for you. We'll give ourselves just a few more rounds of breath all the way in, all the way back out. If you need to turn your head to one direction or the other for the last few breaths here, go ahead. And then very slowly use your hands on the ground to walk yourself up. You can take a couple of breaths just sitting upright, or you could come into a child's pose without props for a couple of breaths, or move through cat and cow. Just take some movement that works for you. And then we're going to come into a nice long shavasana. So hopefully I don't fall asleep and cut off the Instagram video. If I do, cool. And Facebook will go until I turn it off, so don't worry about that. It can take up to 15 minutes for your body and brain to fully relax before Shavasana actually happens. Shavasana is a relaxed state where you are able to go completely inside from the outside world and have an internal experience. That's really hard to do. 20-minute Shavasana is very long. And we're going to get a little shy of that today. So what we're going to want for this is to be extremely comfortable. So if you have a preferred posture to rest in, pose to get in, if you want to lay on your bed or your couch, or use as many pillows and blankets and comfy, cozy stuff as you can. For example, I am going to open this blanket up to lay on it because it feels good to lay on a blanket and not just the hard floor. So I'm going to spread that out for myself. Okay. Another thing that I always recommend and that you might want to play with today is propping something under the back of your head so that your chin tucks and your forehead is a little bit higher than your chin. When our chins are up, our brains are on. And if we think about that metaphysical front of the body is conscious mind and back of the body is subconscious mind, when our chin is up, it's all front body and sympathetic nervous system. It's like looking. When your chin is tucked, it's backside of the body, subconscious mind, and that cervical flexion, that tuck of your chin in your neck, actually stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest system. So that's a really cool way to offer even more of this support for ourselves. One of the ways I like to do that is that when I have my blanket on the floor, I give it a little stair step, and then I tuck the top layer around my neck and fold the corners under my head. I'll show you when I lie down. Maybe you can see, and if not, you can improvise until you're comfortable. I'm also going to put my bolster under my knees. When your knees are higher than your hips, it helps your leg bones relax in your hip sockets. And you want your knees to be higher than your ankles. So one way you could do that would be to prop up the far side of your bolster, or put your legs up on the couch. That can feel really good. I mean, really, anything you could come up with and you go, oh, that feels good, I think feels good too. Okay. So once you get your legs, etc., settled, then you can offer yourself this neck tuck. So I'm laying on the bolster, I can grab the top fold, and I'm scrunching and smushing it down around my neck and shoulders, and it feels awesome. But my chin is still a little high, so that's when I take the back corners and tuck them under. You can see that like tucked my chin, forehead lifted higher. Whew. And if your neck is sore, this might not be comfortable for all of Shavasana. You have full permission to move any way you need to between now and the end of class. So it's worth the time it takes to get comfortable, to adjust your props. If you want to cover up with another blanket or just get your sweater or socks, that can help us rest when our body doesn't have to regulate our temperature. It's part of our autonomic nervous system there. We'll give ourselves a few more rounds of deep, full breath. All the way in, all the way back out. It might feel good to open and close your hands a couple of times or roll out your ankles. Sometimes I like to scrunch up my face and then let the muscles relax a couple times just to remind my face muscles that they don't have to work right now. Well, for the next few minutes, there's nothing left you need to do but just rest and breathe. And trust that being here on the floor is doing so much good for your body and your brain and your nervous system. And all you have to do is rest. And start to deepen your breath. Notice where your body is in space. Notice how your breath is moving. And the state of your thoughts or your feelings or sensations in the body. And a reminder that your present moment experience is one that is always available to us, even if just for a moment, just for a glimpse. And being able to be where we are is very powerful and special. And our breath can be a doorway for us to walk through and support our nervous systems and our bodies on this subtle energetic level that really is only for our own benefit and then becomes for the benefit of all because we are tending to the garden of self. Ooh, start to stretch out through your wrists and fingers and arms and toes. Move any way that you'd like on the floor. And in support of our nervous systems, I always recommend rolling to one side for like 5 deep breaths after we've been on the back a while. Just to give our body a sense to be like, okay, we're not on the floor anymore. And then use your hands to press into the ground and come up to an easy seat. And you can let your hands rest in your lap or on your legs. I like to stack my palms over my heart, or like one hand on my heart or my belly sometimes. If that doesn't feel authentic or soothing, you can do whatever you want with your arms. And take a moment here. Bow your chin towards your chest and bring your chest up towards your chin. This gesture of gratitude is actually one that reinforces our ability to process and rest and heal. And when we offer ourselves gratitude in this way, we offer gratitude to the parts of ourself that happen before thought, that lead us to feeling. And the ability to align to ourselves is one that I think really, over time, proves to be one of our most valuable tools in our toolbox. Deep breath in. Big breath out. Thank you all so much for sharing your practice today. I hope you're well wherever you are. If you like to bake, I hope you get to the joy of baking shoe buns sometime, because it really was a treat. And I'm going to go eat one. So I hope you have a good rest of whatever day it is. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.